Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And from a sun-drenched Jupiter, Florida, and Roger Dean Stadium, we kick off spring training 2017. It's the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. And welcome to Cardinals baseball. For the first time, we can say that here on Fox Sports Midwest for the upcoming season. That's recording. I'm Dan McLaughlin. A lot of excitement around this camp so far.
And Dan, I love spring training. I always have. It's just beautiful down here in Jupiter, Florida. There's a lot of question marks on this team. We'll have our first look at Dexter Fowler today in center field.
Well, we're also excited to bring you a bunch of these games from down here in Jupiter, Florida, and throughout the state of Florida. We'll have 15 games spring training right here on Fox Sports Midwest, and nearly 150 regular season baseball games right here on your home of the Cardinals. So when you think about this afternoon, Luke Weaver gets the start. What are you expecting?
Luke Weaver had terrific numbers in the minor leagues. He was just a star in the making. Now, he had some bumps last year, but I think there's opportunity for him. There's opportunity for a few Cardinal pitchers, but he's the guy that might be leading that pack for that number 5th spot.
All right, Luke Weaver gets the call. We'll have our starting lineups and our first pitch coming up. It's Cardinals Baseball 2017 on Fox Sports Midwest. Get ready for the 2017 Dean Stadium, only minor league stadium that plays host to two separate teams, the Palm Beach Cardinals and the Jupiter Hammerheads, and the spring training home to the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. It is beautiful here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. And there's a look at your new number 25 leadoff man, center fielder Dexter Fowler. Lineups presented by Chevy. Greg Garcia will play second base and bat second, then Matt Carpenter, Steven Piscotty. A lot of regulars in there. Yadier Molina, a slimmed down Matt Adams, Jed Jerko, then Martinez and DeYoung. The starter for the Marlins this afternoon will be Edinson Volquez, and a lot of smiles we've seen from that man in camp. Dexter Fowler, can't wait to hear the ovation he's about to get.
Cardinals will take a look at Volquez, who comes over from Kansas City, where he won just 10 games a year ago, but he could be a big boost for this Marlins team. We've got a lot of to talk about here today with the changes for both the Marlins and the Cardinals, but the big change, of course, for St. Louis is Fowler.
Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs. Hood, Yelich, Stanton in the outfield, Martin Prado at third, Echeverry at short, Perez and Bohr on the right side, and JT Realmuto is the catcher. Welcome to Cardinal Nation. Dexter Fowler signed in the offseason. First year of a 5-year contract to wear the birds on the bat. Infectious personality. That's probably the best way you could describe him. And the first pitch is taken by Fowler. The home plate umpire is Larry Vanover. Andy Fletcher and Lance Barksdale are working the field. 1-0 pitch to Dexter. Popped up and out of play.
It is interesting about Fowler that the first thing that Cardinal people will talk about is his personality, not the fact that, you know, he's going to help us defensively in center field, or he runs first to third better than some of our guys, maybe up the bar there, but they just love his presence in the clubhouse. And boy, that's a nice thing to know when your new guy is a guy that fits right in.
Hit .276 last year, popped 13 home runs, drove in 48. And he takes a pitch low. All-star last year, and he adds a little bit of speed to this lineup too. 13 stolen bases, which is something the Cardinals have focused on early on in camp. Running the bases in defense.
When you think about speed, you also think about outfield speed. Not just stealing bases, but somebody that can get the ball in the right center field gap, left center field gap. Fowler can certainly do that a little bit more than what we had a year ago.
3-1 pitch. Taken for a ball, and it's a leadoff walk for Dexter Fowler. Both sides, Don Mattingly and Mike Matheny, the respective managers, have talked about that this will be quick work for a lot of these pitchers, and probably for the everyday players that you'll see in the regular season too.
Right around 40 pitches for the starting pitchers, and they'll bring in another guy. And in fact, the Marlins already have their second pitcher warming up, so it's not unusual in spring training to go through 6, 7, or 8 pitchers in an early game. And the players will probably play 2 or 3 innings. The starters, position players, I mean.
Here's Greg Garcia, 27-year-old. At .276, he was up and down last year from AAA Memphis and with the big club. Looks at a ball. Now Garcia is out of options, so he has to make the club out of spring to stay with the Cardinals. Really showed himself as a terrific pinch hitter last year. Hit .348 as a pinch hitter, and 4th in on-base percentage among all pinch hitters as well. And that's taken low.
When he's streaky in a good way, he's hard to get out.
Yes.
He'll walk, he'll find a way on base, and plays multiple positions, so certainly a valuable guy. But you're right, when you're out of options, spring training becomes very important to players like that.
Volquez, a 33-year-old right-hander, the primary offseason acquisition for the Marlins. He signed a 2-year, $22 million deal with Miami. Fowler is running. Pitch was taken high. Throw to second, not in time. Stolen base, Dexter Fowler. Well, you like to see that, don't you?
Oh, it's terrific. I know Cardinal fans have been anxious to see Dexter Fowler in a Cardinal uniform, and you get just what you want from him. The on-base percentage, he walks, works the walk, gets a good jump. Stealing bases is not just about speed. It's getting a good jump, and Fowler aggressively taking off. First time on base as a Cardinal.
Well, the umpires have to shift. It is a 3-man crew, not the normal 4-man crew that you'll see in regular season play. And Volquez struggling right now to find the strike zone. Runner at second is Fowler. And there's a strike. Edinson has bounced around in his career. He's pitched with Texas. We saw him in the Central Division with Cincinnati. He's with San Diego, the Dodgers, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, where he won a world championship, and now Miami. The 3-1. Garcia hits a high fly ball out to center. Going back, Yelich at the wall, and he makes the catch. Fowler is tagging up. Advances to third base. So 1 out and a runner at third as Garcia gave that a ride into center field.
Good at bat for Garcia. Exactly what the Cardinals are hoping for in their new lineup, Dan. You get Fowler on base, find a way to get him to third with less than 2 outs. Then Matt Carpenter becomes not your leadoff hitter anymore. He's your RBI guy. That's what you're going to want from Carpenter in 2017.
And Carpenter, they made the call to him and said, you will be the everyday first baseman, but he appeared in at least 40 games at 3 different spots last year on the infield. Second base, first base, and at third. Real big question, though, as you talk about it, Rick. That's lined into center field. Yelich makes the catch. Fowler will tag, and he will score. 1-0 Cardinals. Can Carpenter make the adjustment from not being a leadoff man, where he has said he's comfortable there, but then has to shift to be that RBI man?
Well, a few at-bats like this, and maybe he'll get comfortable. I'm comfortable having him there. He may not be, but I just think he is such a good hitter. He understands the zone, the strike zone, as well as any Cardinal player. And yes, he's an on-base percentage guy, but he's also a guy that can be dangerous. Hit 20, 30 home runs.
And here's the cleanup man now. Stephen Piscotty, a year ago, led the Cardinals in RBIs and runs scored. 25-year-old hit 273. And he takes a pitch low. It was interesting. Jason Hayward left St. Louis. Piscotty became the everyday right fielder and basically just transferred what he did in the minor leagues to the major leagues with a little bit more power. And that's it out of play.
And his offseason job was to gain some athleticism. That's kind of been a buzzword around the Cardinal camp, is Mike Matheny wants his players to become more athletic, and that includes Aledmus Diaz, includes Piscotty, Matt Adams. Be more agile, not just stronger, but more baseball agile.
Little chopper pulled foul past Chris Maloney, who's back on the staff for the St. Louis Cardinals. Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach. Blaze Illsley in the bullpen. David Bell on the bench. John Mabry is back. Bill Miller. The aforementioned Maloney and Oliver Marmol has been added to the staff, along with Mike Schilt. And a swing and a miss. And a strikeout of Piscotty. The Cardinals pick up the RBI by Carpenter. So nice to say it. Baseball is back, and so is Luke Weaver. He takes to the mound. When we come back, it's the Cardinals on Fox Sports Midwest.
You don't look like you're from around.
In the top of the first, and it's 1-0 St. Louis. Luke Weaver makes his spring training debut. And a look at the Marlins lineup. JT Realmuto, their everyday catcher, will lead it off. This is presented by Chevrolet. And Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, Justin Bour, A.J. Ellis. He'll serve as the DH. Destin Hood, Adeiny Echeverria, and Jeffrey Perez. And there's a look at the 23-year-old Luke Weaver. Went 1-4 last year. He made his major league debut. 8 starts, 9 total appearances. And the first pitch, a strike.
You look at those numbers, 1-4 with an ERA in the mid-4s, and you say, well, he didn't show that well. But I thought he showed some flashes of brilliance. As a minor leaguer, he was dominant. Still just 23 years of age, throws mid-90s.
Ground ball right side and a leadoff base hit for Realmuto. Dexter Fowler anchoring center field. Around the horn is presented by Dobbs. Martinez in left, Piscotty in right. Jerko, DeYoung, Garcia, and Carpenter on the infield. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Do we know yet what kind of range, number one, Dexter Fowler has, and where does he like to play? Is he a guy that plays deep? Does he play in? What do we know?
Well, first of all, I like looking at him with the dirty uniform in the bottom of the first inning. That's honestly, I just love that. That shows the man is in the game already. He spent a lot of time a year ago becoming a better outfielder defensively by where he plays, in and out, left and right. He's really studied that. He's really a smart guy, and he's become a better range player defensively. Again, I'm not going to say he's Jim Edmonds as a defensive center fielder, but he's a good defensive center fielder, and I think Piscotty's good and right. Randall Grichuk will be the normal left fielder. That'll be a bit new for him, but I just expect that to be a strong point for this 2017 Cardinal team.
Martin Prado coming off a very good season. He faced old National League third baseman in average and hits. He was a month away from free agency, and he decided to stay with Miami. And Miami has become his home. He has a new daughter, born last April. His wife is a doctor completing her residency in Miami, and he said, you know what, this is a good place. Even though I'm a month away from free agency, I'm comfortable here. And the Marlins went away from what they normally do too, Rick, is that they gave him a long-term deal at the age of 32. Normally, they just don't extend guys that are 30 years or older.
He's part of the heart and soul of this team.
Yeah.
His teammates love him. Always gives a professional at bat.
Let's hit out of play. Two balls and 2 strikes. Runner at first is JT Realmuto. The Cardinals will have Luke Weaver going, and starting this game, more than likely we'll see John Gant, Austin Gomber, and Seung-Hwan Oh before he heads to the World Baseball Classic.
Realmuto had a nice season with the bat a year ago. He's a catcher leading off, which is odd, but he's learning how to play first base this spring, and because of that, declined being a part of the USA team for the World Baseball Classic.
Time is cold.
Felt like he was better off working with his team, learning the position. The Cardinals have plenty of guys that soon will be headed to the World Baseball Classic to represent their country.
Are you a fan of it?
I'm lukewarm about it. I couldn't stand it at first. I thought the idea of taking teammates and disconnecting them in spring training was not a great idea. But I think I've gotten warmer to it, Dan, because players talk about how much they love the opportunity to represent their country, and that makes it a bit of a feel-good story for me.
Hey, go ahead, go.
Let's see if they want to start the runner on 3-2. Yadier Molina behind the plate. He is running, and the pitch is tapped foul. Cardinals are trying to get better defensively this year, and Molina saw his run of 8 consecutive Gold Gloves come to an end. As a matter of fact, no Cardinal won a Gold Glove for the first time since 2007. Gold Glove went to Buster Posey in the National League for catchers and Salvador Perez of Kansas City in the American League. little bit low. So the first two have reached against Weaver. It brings in Christian Yelich.
Nice to see Molina behind the plate again. Talked about the Gold Glove string, but 14 years in the big leagues now for Yadier Molina.
At a demanding position like catcher. And here's a guy that had a career high in innings behind the plate last year. He had over 1,200 innings behind the plate. 9th time he's had over 1,000 innings catching. And that's a lot of wear and tear on that body. Christian Yelich batting third in this lineup. Hit .298 a year ago and popped 21 home runs. The 0-1 pitch. He is a former first-round pick back in 2010. And when the Marlins drafted Yelich, they thought he would hit for power. And last year he finally showed it with the career-high 21 homers. 1 ball and 1 strike. And you would think you're going to see some pitches to hit because of the guy that's on deck. That's Giancarlo Stanton.
One of our game's best.
The 2-1.
And Dan, speaking of one of our game's best, it's hard not to think of Jose Fernandez playing the Marlins here in game 1, and what a loss for this organization and the community, and really a tough year for them last year. A lot of promise. They have a lot of good players, but just emotionally such a draining season for this organization. Cardinal fans, of course, have been through that. Very, very tough.
3 balls, 1 strike. And the next by Weaver. Grounded to first and foul. And the Marlins finished up 79 and 82. At one point, they were 9 games above the 500 mark. And that turned into 3 games below with a second-half record of 32 and 41. They went for it. You may recall, we saw it. They picked up Andrew Cashner. They went and got Fernando Rodney. Neither one of those deals panned out. And Miami regroups here for 2017. The 3-2 pitch, but with a changeup taken low. So a couple of walks, and now the base is loaded, and Stanton.
Very unusual for Luke Weaver. When you look at his career totals, very few walks. He's just a strike thrower. But at the big league level, guys are going to be very patient. And it's also a pretty small zone in the first inning.
Is.
For really both ways.
So here is Stanton for the Marlins. Bases loaded, nobody out. Last year hit .240, 27 home runs, drove in 74, made his 3rd All-Star team, but only again played in 119 games. If they can get him on the field for, let's say, 140 to 150, maybe it's a different finish for the Marlins. The 1-0. Was doing some numbers looking at Stanton. And really the question is, can he stay healthy?
Right.
He's played in 123 games or fewer in 4 of the last 5 seasons.
A lot of impact in those 123 games, though.
I'd say.
He's had a season worth of home runs and RBIs most of those seasons.
He had 61 home runs last year in the Home Run Derby, as he put on a show in San Diego. Breaks his bat, could be 2, slowly hit. They'll get 1, there's 2. Run does score. Double play, goes 6-4-3.
This is our first look at DeYoung, who's learning to play shortstop after being a 3rd baseman primarily. And the Cardinals really are high on him. He had a very good Arizona fall league where he really was shining defensively, and they think he may be a shortstop. And you know, if you're a shortstop, you've got to have a certain kind of athleticism that the corner infielders don't have. And so normally you move the other way. You move from short to 3rd if you don't show that. But he's a guy that has impressed to the point where they're moving him from the corner to the middle of the infield.
There is Justin Bour. DeYoung is an NBC talent, Missouri Valley Conference, Illinois State Redbird. They love his bat, too. So trying to find a spot for him, he moves to shortstop. Runner at third and 2 outs. A tie game, 1-1. Bour hit .264 last year. He hurt his ankle on July 2nd. And at the time of the injury, he's putting together a solid season. .268 at 15 home runs in 68 games. It seems like we say this every year because we see the Marlins so much, but who will hit behind Giancarlo Stanton?
Always a question, isn't it?
Yeah. A.J. Ellis, serving as the designated hitter, is on deck. Swinging away on 3-0.
Marcell Ozuna is a very talented player and plays a lot of center field. Yelich will be in left when he's playing center. And Ozuna has the capability of being a 30 home run guy and a 280 and that kind of guy that can hit behind Stanton.
And they're all young. You know, it's a very good outfield. On the inside corner. 3 balls, 2 strikes. The question with Bour has always been, can he stay in the lineup and hit left-handed pitching?
Right.
And they may not have that right-handed option this year. You talked about it. Real Muto may play a little first base. Miguel Rojas, Derek Dietrich. But those aren't the threats that this guy can be against a right-handed pitcher. New policy with the Marlins. Don't worry about bringing your razor. You can have facial hair.
I'd love to have been at that meeting. Okay, here's our rotation. Here's our bullpen. Here's what we're doing about facial hair.
3-2, got him out in front. And the play is made. Marlins strand a runner. They pick up a run. We head to the second. Yadier Molina, the All-Star, future Hall of Famer, leads it off when we come back. Our score is 1-1, top of the second from Roger Dean Stadium here in Jupiter, Florida. That young man right there will be a part of the rotation for the Miami Marlins. That's Tom Kohler. And Kohler last season went 9-13 with a 4.33 ERA. But what he has done, Rick, is he takes the ball. Last 3 years, he's made at least 30 starts. And the year before that, it was 23. So they count on him in that rotation.
A lot to be said for that, for a guy that can answer the bell every 5th day, get close to a couple of hundred innings, and he's been a workhorse, certainly in their rotation.
And the first man that'll face is Yadier Molina. Led the Cardinals in average, doubles, multi-hit games. Swinging at the first pitch, Adeiny Echeverria makes the play, and there's one away. Well, we were talking about this, and it's gotten a lot of attention back home in St. Louis, the fact that Matt Adams has dropped 30 pounds. It's not like he's skinny. It's redistributed, and he looks in great shape.
Yeah, when you look at him, you don't think skinny. He's certainly well built, and not only has he dropped pounds, but he's dropped his hands. And very different look. We watched him in the cage today. His hands are really low, and he was driving the ball today at batting practice, which doesn't mean a whole lot when it comes to a guy in a big league uniform throwing 95. It's a little different story, but there's the new look. Hands low. You were watching him, Danny. You said he looks a little bit like Rizzo, like Anthony Rizzo. He's got the hands low, and he's just...
See what you think. You know, Rizzo crowds the plate. Clearly, you know, Adams is not doing that.
No.
But where the hands are, and then where he finishes. But there's no doubting his power today at batting practice. He put on a show.
He will be one of the Cardinals that we're going to want to watch closely. He could make some of the plans obsolete in terms of how the Cardinals are going to have their regular lineup and how they're going to play defensively. If he earns 400 or 500 at-bats by what he does this spring, you find a place to play him.
And he just may do that. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Adams. Jet swing, and he held up. Ooh, I think Matt may have run a break. A 2-2 pitch to Adams. Breaking ball, and that time he got him. Froze him. And the first 2 have been retired by Tom Kohler.
That's Kohler's specialty, the curveball. He's got a good one. And you think early games in spring training, how hard that is for players to get their timing. It always was true, and I think maybe a little less true now because players do so much in the offseason. But pitchers always had the advantage early on because hitters were still seeking that timing, still looking for a way to hit the off-speed pitches especially.
Jerko into right field and a base hit. New year, same old Jed. Gets a fastball and watch out.
Eyes get big. Here comes a fastball. I'm swinging. Think about some of the at-bats he had a year ago as a Cardinal against guys like Chapman, for example. Guys throwing plus, and he would still get the bat head on the ball with a fastball in the upper 90s. He just loves hitting the fastball.
30 home runs, and we don't even talk about it. In limited time, too. Fighting for a spot this year in the outfield as a backup will be this man at the plate, Jose Martinez. Made a very good impression on the Cardinals staff at the end of last season.
He had 438 limited action, but he had wanted to be a big leaguer for so long, was a PCL batting champion at one point, finally got the chance to play, and he made the best of it in just 12 games. He had an impact. He, too, was able to turn on some fastballs in September.
And he hits it into center.
Come on, get up!
Yelich coming on to make the catch. So the Cardinals strand a runner. Base hit by Jerko. Left stranded. Midway through 2. And we're tied 1-1.
Roomy and surprisingly
Baseball is back on Fox Sports Midwest. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. Cardinals trying to get back in the playoffs in 2017. It was the first time they had been out of the playoffs since 2010, a year ago, and they came up 1 game short. A.J. Ellis, Destin Hood, and Adeiny Echeverria in the second inning for Luke Weaver. We had some folks pop in the booth last couple of innings and question the strike zone. We're already questioning the strike zone.
Mid-season form.
Yep. It's a little tight. Ground ball hit left side. There is Jed Jerko. And there's the first out. Let's turn to Rick's Toyota keys to the game.
Well, one of the keys has to do with getting routines for the players, the coaches, the manager. You know, it's all about kind of comfort level. We know how players can be creatures of habit. So today's all about establishing your game day routine. They've been working out for 10 days, but it's their first game. The second key is it's a day like any other day in spring training where there's an opportunity for a young guy to show something. And you have to understand every at-bat, every inning you pitch is going to make an impression on your manager and take advantage of it.
Marlins say that this young man at the plate is an athlete. Not just a baseball player, but an athlete. So 8 years after turning down Nick Saban to play football, he was rewarded with a call-up last year, and they feel he's got a chance to crack their opening day roster as a backup outfielder this season. 0-2 pitch in the dirt.
Are you inferring or implying, I'm not sure which word is right, that you can be a baseball player and not be an athlete? Is that your point?
You're putting me in a bad spot here.
I just want to get you on record.
This is a bad spot you put me in.
So change the subject.
Hey, there's a strikeout.
Well done.
First strikeout for Weaver, and it brings in Adeiny Echeverria.
Echeverria is my favorite player to hear you pronounce, number one, but he's also one of my favorite players to watch play defense. He is a terrific defensive player. Marlins very lucky to have this guy.
You may recall he came over from Toronto in that huge, massive trade. He had Jose Reyes and Mark Burley, and Johnson was a part of it. And maybe the best to come out of that deal is the man at the plate, everyday shortstop at the age of 27. And he shoots it into the gap in left center for a base hit with 2 down.
Nothing complex here, just bat to the ball, down in the zone. Become a good hitter, too. He's not all defense. Echeverria a season ago only hit .236, but has the potential to be better than that.
Seung-Hwan Oh begins to throw and warm up in the Cardinals pen. It'll be O and Molina and Carpenter. All will leave camp shortly to join their teams and their countries in the World Baseball Classic. My biggest concern with it is just the timing of it.
Yeah.
You know, especially with pitchers. Now, we know that guys keep themselves in great condition throughout the season and off season, but you know, you go back to Mitchell Boggs a few years ago, who was coming off a historic season for a setup man in Cardinals history, one of the best ever statistically, and wasn't really used by Team USA and Joe Torre, and all of a sudden he was playing catch up when he got to the regular season and was never the same.
Cardinals made a big investment in Brett Cecil during the offseason. He has the potential of being that kind of guy. As a left-handed reliever, maybe you don't use him, maybe you don't need him, and all of a sudden he's on the team and doesn't get the work that he needs. Cardinals signed him to a 4-year deal, one of their big offseason moves. But we mentioned the Cardinals, only the Detroit Tigers with more players than the Cardinals participating in the World Baseball Classic.
The 2-1 pitch. Weaver to Jeffrey Perez. Slaps it the other way. Jose Martinez is there and makes the catch. Marlins strand a runner. We head to the third. Cardinals baseball, it's back.
This is Frank Pomerita.
On Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by the Chevy Silverado, the new face of strong, Chevrolet. Find new roads at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. Spring training 2017, the clouds moving in a bit. It was hot this morning. Very warm day, one of the warmest days of camp, we understand. Rick, I feel like I'm getting old. Paul DeYoung was born in 1993. So he'll dig in against McGowan.
I can't help you with how you feel, but I am excited to watch him swing the bat. We talked about his defense earlier, but he was the #1 rated power prospect in the Cardinals minor leagues as well.
They talk about, and we hear the term all the time, exit velocity. And they say his is off the charts. So McGowan, longtime major leaguer, takes over here in the third. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. The pitching last year for the Marlins gave up the 3rd most walks, surrendered the fewest home runs in Major League Baseball. And they have not had a complete game, Rick, since 2014. So they go to their bullpen an awful lot. But the last pitcher to throw a complete game for the Marlins, June 3rd of 2014, Henderson Alvarez. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Somewhat a sign of the times, too, Dan, that teams just do not expect starters to go 9 innings. You have the middle innings guys, the bridge pitchers, and the Cardinals have a few guys auditioning for that, including Trevor Rosenthal. I'm looking forward to watching him perhaps in that role this spring. It'll be one of the stories that unfolds.
The 2-2 and a swing and a miss. So McGowan comes in and strikes out DeYoung. And we're back to the top of the lineup in Dexter Fowler. Dustin McGowan, a former 1st-round pick. He's pitched with Toronto and Philly. Appeared in 55 games last year, and he went 1-3. Now, this is a guy that when he was drafted, 1st-round pick, you know, a lot of expectations, and he's dealt with an awful lot of adversity and injuries in his career. But he said his dream was, like many of these players, to make it to the big leagues. And through some of the injuries and the time away, they discovered he had diabetes. And since then, he's really tried to make a difference in the community with that. This past offseason, he picked up the Hutch Award for Outstanding Community Service. It's a national honor presented by the Seattle-based Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. And that is a name that many people remember, former player and manager in the big leagues. Last year's award went to Adam Wainwright, and rather the year prior to this past offseason. And this offseason it went to McGowan. So he's really done a lot with kids that do deal with what he deals with, which is diabetes.
Good to hear.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Dexter Fowler.
Dan, as we watch Fowler take his second at bat as a Cardinal, I just think about what he was able to do in the first inning. Here, does that with just one hand. That's a little uncomfortable. Must have been fooled by that pitch. But the Cardinals, a year ago, had many innings where they would need 3 hits to score a run. With Fowler in the first inning, they score a run with 0 hits. That's the way it's done. And how did they do it? Fowler leads off with a walk. He has a terrific understanding of the strike zone, works the walk against Edinson Volquez, then takes off. Gets a good jump, steals the base easily. Garcia got him to third, and then Matt Carpenter gets him home.
The 2-2 pitch. A little bit low. The top of this lineup for the Cardinals, in terms of on-base percentage, you think about 1, 2, and 3. Fowler, potentially Aledmys Diaz hitting second, Carpenter third. That's a lot of guys getting on base, potentially. And the 3-2. Couple of walks for Dexter Fowler. Get used to saying ball 4 to Fowler. He's seen 11 pitches and a couple of walks, and we'll see if he wants to do a little running.
Well, I think you're going to have some cases where a hit and run would be in order too with Fowler aboard. And particularly with a guy like Garcia at the plate, or even Diaz. That's an extra weapon for you. Think about something as simple as signs, Dan. You're a new team, you're playing game number 1, and you realize, oh yeah, we've got to communicate here in a complex series of signs delivered by our third base coach. And new players have to learn them, get used to them, learn what the manager likes to do and when.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Garcia. I don't know if you saw this the other day, but you know, there's been so much talk about pace of play in Major League Baseball, and Joe Girardi was asked about it, and he said instead of having Chris Maloney or whoever is the third base coach give signs, we should have, just like football, something in their ears to hear. You know, the manager says go, stay, here, bunt, whatever, and he said that to me would speed up the game too. We go through this, you know, all these different signs. Why are we doing that if we have the technology? Shallow right center, and the catch is made by Christian Yelich. I thought it was interesting.
Well, there's a lot of interesting thoughts about what baseball can do with the pace of play. We've seen some changes over the last couple of years, keeping players in the box longer. We've got the between inning clock to make sure they're out there ready to go. You've got number of pitches or seconds that the pitcher has to deliver the ball. I think one other thing we can do, and I won't have a lot of people agree with me on this, is just embrace the fact that it's baseball. We don't need to make it something that it's not. And I think we just have to be conditioned that, look, it's going to take a while to play a game, and just enjoy it. Yeah. Have fun. Have a conversation with your family. Have your favorite beverage. Enjoy it.
Well, somebody asked me about pace of play the other day, and I said I've never seen anybody at the ballpark complain about it.
Right.
They're here and they're enjoying it. So 2 outs and a runner at first. That's Fowler, and this is Carpenter. Picked up an RBI his first time up. So he lined out to center.
We don't want to be the Kentucky Derby. A lot of fun for 3 minutes, and it's over.
Right. The specialization of the game and the amount of pitchers used, clearly that's added to time on the game. Mound visits. ball and 1 strike on Carpenter. We've seen Edinson Volquez, who started for the Marlins, then Tom Kohler, and now McGowan. One ball, 1 strike. And the next to Carter. Runner goes, and it's driven into right field. On the move, Stanton looks up, and it is a fair ball and gone. Just inside the foul pole. And Matt Carpenter off to a good start in 2017. RBI in the first, and now a 2-run homer. The Cardinals back up on top. It's 3-1.
I wonder if he's comfortable in that 3 spot yet. After just 2 at-bats, he gets a sacrifice fly and an RBI. Turns on that ball inside. Still able to get the bat head on it despite the fact it was on the inner half. They tried to crowd him, but he turned on it and kept it just barely fair down the right field line. Not a lot of home runs hitting this ballpark in spring training, Dan.
I've got some numbers for you. You ready for this? So I went back.
You know I love numbers.
And I looked at spring training for both the Marlins and the Cardinals. Now, if you're wondering, we are 6 miles away from the Atlantic Ocean. So you're going to get the ocean breezes coming in. The Marlins had 449 at-bats last year. In spring training, they hit 2 home runs. The Cardinals had 427 at-bats and hit 5 home runs. A total of 7 at this ballpark for the month. Think about that.
I love your numbers, Dan. I missed them.
I guess I missed you. Yeah, I missed you. I missed seeing that. Carpenter, the home run, a 2-run shot, and it's 3-1 St. Louis.
You don't look like you're from.
Back here on Fox Sports Midwest, we will have 15 spring training telecasts for you, nearly 150 regular season games, and this is our Chevy call to the pen. Seung-Hwan Oh, it might have been the best deal in baseball that went under the radar a year ago. At the age of 33, he signs a 2-year deal for $2.5 million. And in this day and age in baseball, that's chump change. And he wound up being a huge addition to the Cardinals' pen. There's strike 1, and we're underway here in the bottom of the 3rd. JT Realmuto, the top of the lineup. D. Gordon was supposed to play today. He was a late scratch, so Realmuto is at the top of the lineup. And he fouls it back quickly. No balls and 2 strikes.
What I liked about O a year ago is he just kept getting better and better. More confident. Not that he did not have the experience as a closer, which he certainly did in Korea, but he was getting more and more confident with the language, with big league baseball, and he was just locked down the last couple of months.
And there's a ground ball. Nice hop to Garcia. Yeah, this time last year, we had no idea who this man is and what he would become.
Well, what he became is a guy that was the closer. Trevor Rosenthal struggled a bit. O stepped in, 19 saves, ERA under 2, 6-3 record in 76 games. Very durable. A lot of games finished. A lot of times he was being handed the ball by Yadier Molina at the end.
Only 6 relievers threw more innings than 79 2/3 is what he threw. Over 100 strikeouts, only 18 walks. So strike thrower, and gets a lot of swings and misses too. His swing rate was 18%, one of the highest in baseball. And that swung on and driven into left center. And a base hit for Martin Prado, who stops at first base. It brings in Yelich, a 1-out single for Prado.
I think your point about O, as it related to where he was a spring ago, was right on, because I don't think the Cardinals were 100% sure what they had, what his ceiling might be. Is he going to be a middle guy, a middle reliever, maybe a setup guy? I can't really tell how that's going to fit, how he's going to work, but boy, he just surprised everybody by becoming the closer.
That pitch right there, that slider, is nasty. I mean, literally this time last year, the Cardinals were out doing bullpens, and we're just trying to figure out the little toe tap that he had. And we're asking the various catchers that were behind the plate during those bullpens, well, what's he got? And the one thing we heard was deception. We heard that a lot. And then he started gaining more confidence. You could see it as the season went on.
Well, the little slider you're talking about gets in on the hands. You throw it up and in on a left-hander. It ties him up. There's nothing you can do with that. Little cutter, hard to get your arms extended. You feel crowded trying to swing at a pitch like that, but it's a strike. You can't let it go.
No balls and 2 strikes.
Let's face it, Dan, we spent the first 2 weeks trying to figure out how to say his name.
Well, yeah.
And I'm still working on it.
And by the way, I know there are fans at home saying, Dan, is he there? Yes, Eugene is back, the translator.
Of course.
You can't have without Eugene. Here's a 1-2 pitch. That's driven deep right. And that ball stays fair and gone. A home run. Christian Yelich. And just like that, this game is tied at 3.
You want to give me those numbers again?
Right. What's going on here? He had 21 a year ago, a career high, and pops his first of the spring.
Well, he didn't exactly crowd him on that one. That was not a cutter. It was just a fastball in, and Yelich turns on it. There's the power you talked about earlier. And just like Carpenter, sneaks it just inside that foul pole, just 325 down the line.
Stanton hits it to third, taken there by Jed Zerko. Stanton is 0 for 2. And there's 2 away, and it brings in Bohr. So 19 saves and 22 opportunities, most by a Cardinals rookie since your good buddy and former teammate Todd Worrell. He had 36 in 1986, even though he did pitch in 85. Did not have enough appearances to qualify for the Rookie of the Year. Cardinals have a left-hander getting loose. I believe that's Austin Gomber. So what do you think, Rick? This is probably our final look at Seung-Hwan Oh till maybe late spring.
Well, we might not see him for 2 more weeks. The World Baseball Classic games will begin on the 6th or 7th of March, depending upon where you are, and they'll last through the 23rd. So if your team wins, you're going to be gone longer. Part of the issue of the World Baseball Classic, and O is going to get the early nod to leave here and join his team and get ready to represent his country. And again, plenty of other Cardinals will be leaving along the way.
And the 1-2 is a high fly ball into deep right. Will this carry? It will. So Justin Bohr, a solo home run, and the second home run allowed by Seung-Hwan Oh. Here in the bottom of the 3rd, and the Marlins go on top for the first time. It's 4-3.
So all of spring training a year ago, the Marlins hit 2 home runs. We're in the bottom of the 3rd on February 25th, and they hit their 2nd already.
That's right.
Are we starting the ball is juiced theory, or is it a little too soon?
Too soon.
Okay.
Too soon.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about pace of play, too. Here's a novel idea. How about just call the rule book? Talking about bringing the strike zone up potentially. One and 2 the count. This is A.J. Ellis serving as the DH. And he chops it foul. Ellis signed a 1-year deal in the offseason. Remember, it was a controversial trade the Dodgers made. Ellis had been the personal catcher for Clayton Kershaw for a number of years, well liked in their clubhouse, fan base. He had spent 13 years in the Dodgers organization, then was traded away to the Phillies. And he also will be part of the World Baseball Classic as he strikes out against O. But a couple of home runs hit, some damage done against Seung-Hwan Oh. For the first time, the Marlins have the lead. It's 4-3 here in Jupiter.
Our state.
It's 4-3 Miami. Couple of home runs off of Seung-Hwan Oh to give the Marlins a lead. And there is Eugene with Seung-Hwan Oh. Yadier Molina could be his final plate appearance of the afternoon. And this is their lefty specialist on the mound, Hunter Cervenka. Traded to the Marlins in early August of last season from the Atlanta Braves. For many years, they had Mike Dunn, who could get both lefties and righties out. He signed with Colorado in the offseason, and Cervenka will take over that lefty specialist role. There's a 2-0 pitch to Molina. Grounded out to short his first time up. Lines it into center field. And that's the first out here in the top of the 4th. It brings in Matt Adams, who struck out his first time up. We've talked about how Adams You'll see it here if you're just tuning in, has changed his stance from a year ago, along with his body.
All part of the transformation of Matt Adams. Trying to get more athletic, his hands lower, his stance slightly more open, the body type certainly leaner. And I think his thought is he can get his hands to the ball quicker than having his hands high and a longer path to the ball. He's trying to avoid the strikeout.
And it's popped up left side. In foul territory. Catch is made, and there's quickly 2 outs. So Adams 0 for 2, and it brings in Jed Jerko, who singled to right his first time up. Cervenka had spent time with the Sugarland Skeeters of the Atlantic League. Originally a 27th round pick by Boston in 2008.
The Sugarland Skeeters. Is that what you just said?
That's right. So he was in independent baseball for a while and fought his way back. 2012, traded to the Cubs in the Marlon Byrd deal that eventually released. Went to independent baseball, and now he is penciled in to be the lefty out of the pen right now for the Marlins. Jerko, base hit into left. He's 2 for 2. Jed Jerko 2 for 2, and here's Jose Martinez.
One name we have not mentioned yet, Dan, is Adolis Garcia. He is the latest Cardinal to sign from Cuba. He's wearing number 75. He's here today, but probably we wouldn't see him on the field. Mike Matheny not sure where he is in his baseball readiness yet, but really a big prospect, an all-star in Cuba a year ago, a center fielder. And from what everybody is saying about Garcia, an incredible physical specimen.
And he's related to the Braves' third baseman, correct?
Adonis Garcia is his brother.
1-0 pitch to Martinez. 1 ball, 1 strike.
But that signing could prove to be a big deal down the road.
Well, we know about what happened with the hacking situation for the Cardinals, so they had mentioned they're going to go more into the international market with the pool that they have of money allotted for that. And if they need to overspend, that they would. It's taken low, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Nick Stavanoa also spent time with the Sugarland Skeeters at one point.
We talked about opportunity in spring training, and here's a guy that has one. Jose Martinez. If he shows well, not only a chance to be that 5th outfielder in St. Louis, but maybe picked up by somebody else. And every time I look at Jose Martinez, he reminds me so much of his late father, who was a former teammate of mine, Carlos Martinez.
White Sox?
With the White Sox.
Jose, 887 minor league games. White Sox, Braves, Cardinals, and then made his major league debut late last season. And you mentioned it earlier, he won a batting title and was not called up by the Kansas City Royals, and that's hard to figure out.
How can that be?
Talk about rewarding players all the time. And if he would have been called up, appeared in 1 pitch of a game, he's got a World Series ring.
It's a culture that the Cardinals are trying to instill in their minor leagues, that if you play well, you'll get a chance to play. Now, the Cardinal minor leaguers are not here yet, so we don't have 200 guys on the backfields yet. They'll be here in a few days. But some of their special guys, their prospects, are here for what they call a STEP program, which is a early spring training program to help them dealing with the media, guys like you and me, dealing with all of what it means to be a big leaguer.
Isn't it?
It is.
I mean, we are all over these guys from day one. And the one that really gets after him is Jim Hayes.
Well, we all participated last year in helping them learn the ropes. And so many of the prospects in that STEP program will be here today, and class begins tomorrow.
We'll be a part of some media initiatives on Thursday, I believe.
Spring training early program. STEP.
Got it. Runner at first, and that's Jed Jerka with 2 outs. Count is full, so he's off with this pitch. Cardinals trailing 4-3. Seung-Hwan Oh gave up a couple of home runs. Carpenter with a home run of his own for St. Louis. Tapped foul again. Cardinals last year finished 10 games above 500. And what was hard to understand was their home record. 38-43 at Busch Stadium. Just the 13th losing home record in 125 years of Cardinals baseball. And yet this team was outstanding on the road. Get out of play again.
One of those numbers you really couldn't get a handle on the why to. I mean, why is that true? There's just too many people thinking about it, and I think it almost became a self-fulfilling prophecy at the end, that you looked at your home record and you went, uh-oh, here we go again. And just an odd thing to be in front of your home crowd not playing well.
Team would maybe get off to a slow start in a game, and like you said, it's that self-fulfilling prophecy, like, uh-oh, here we go again. 3-2. Driven foul into the Marlins bullpen.
Well, I think that first inning, scoring runs at home, is critical to get a crowd in the game, keep them in the game, and build that momentum. And I think Fowler will bring some of that to the Cardinals. We've seen it here this afternoon.
The 3-2 pitch again. And Cervinka will win this battle. Fly ball into right, and the catch is made. Baseball is back. Spring training, first of 15, right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
Remember me?
Will take over for the Cardinals. It's 4-3. Cardinals tickets are on sale now and start at just $5. And the 2017 season is full of great matchups, cool giveaways, including 6 jerseys, 3 rings, and much more. Get your 2017 tickets at Cardinals.com. First pitch is driven out to deep left field. And Destin Hood trots in with a double to start play here in the bottom of the fourth. Austin Gumber, fourth-round pick in 2014 out of FAU. Big guy, 6'5", 240 pounds. Features a fastball around 90, 92, changeup, curve. He'll mix speeds with that breaking pitch. And I've heard people really talk about this being more of a slurve when we see it. There it was. Combination of the curve and the slider.
What?
And there's one away.
Well, you mentioned he's from FAU, which is really about a 7-iron away from here, so this is his home turf. And he had a really good spring training a year ago. Was the minor league pitcher of the year, the co-minor league pitcher of the year 2 seasons ago with Alex Reyes. That's how good he was. He had some good moments last year, and like DeYoung, the shortstop that we saw start here today, he showed very well in the Arizona League. In the fall.
Throws strikes in his pro career. He's walked under 3 per 9. And last year started at right here, Palm Beach, finished at Double-A Springfield. You get to Double-A, you're close. And the Cardinals have very high hopes on him. The year that he was that minor league pitcher of the year, 22 starts at Peoria. That's Class A of the Midwest League. Went 15-3 with a 2.67 ERA. And look at the walk totals there, Rick. He only walked 34 that season, the entire year.
Left-handed starter throwing strikes. Gotta love that. Plenty of changes for the Cardinals, and as is the case in many spring training games, we'll be a couple innings behind all those changes because they happen so quickly. It's hard to keep up. We'll do our best, Danny.
Why are you calling us out? I've got all the changes right here.
Okay, what are they?
As we go throughout this game, I'll let you know if the ball is hitting that direction.
There you go.
You got to wait till the ball is hitting that direction, then I'll let you know. Where's our media guide? There's a swing and a miss. Strikeout for Gomber. And there's 2 outs. Jim Hayes will join us in inning number 5, and we'll catch you up with one of our favorites. And he'll be with us all season long. Jim got a chance to sit in the seats and actually be a fan for a while today. Lovely wife Erin and son Tyler are here with Jim.
Jim just texted me that's Chad Huffman playing first base, taking over for Matt Carpenter. Jim, of course, watching us on the Fox Sports Go app.
Well, that was a good. You're in mid-season form. That was a great way to transition to say that you could see all the Fox games on the Fox Go app.
Just teed that right up for you, didn't I?
You really did. That was impressive. Well, you were down here with the fantasy campers.
Oh, my goodness, was that fun.
That was, what, about 3 weeks ago or so?
Yep, 2 weeks of laughing.
1 ball and 1 strike. Real Muto at the plate, the top of the lineup here for the Marlins. Big breaking ball taken just a bit high. Carson Kelly is your new catcher.
Yeah, we're getting there. Told you we would.
It's a very interesting period in time with the Cardinals catching situation.
Oh my, is it ever.
You have the #1 catching prospect in baseball in Carson Kelly, and the potential Hall of Famer in Yadier Molina. That's popped up, and whoa, the catch is made by DeYoung. Carson Kelly, will see him this afternoon and all spring long right here on Fox Sports Midwest. is Nick Whitgren will be the new pitcher for the Miami Marlins. Marlins on top. This is our first spring training telecast of 15 from down here in beautiful Jupiter, Florida. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, and we've got Jim Hayes with us. And there's a look at the numbers on Nick Whitgren, who appeared in 48 games, went 4-3 last season. Well, Jimmy, great to have you back with us.
It's great to be here. You guys are doing a great job. I don't know if you heard, but I was watching the entire game on the Fox Go app.
No, we talked about it, Jim, already.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. You guys sound great.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. It's great to be back. Baseball is back. A beautiful day. What could be better than that? And Ricky, hi.
Good to see you, Cat. I missed you. Wow, it's a long winter, isn't it? Not a bad winter in St. Louis, but a long one.
Here's DeYoung. Jimmy, what are you looking forward to in this spring? What battles are you going to take a hard look at?
Well, obviously the starting rotation is kind of interesting. I was one that had penciled Alex Reyes into the starting rotation. John Mozeliak said, well, you know, a lot of people have. We're not so certain now. We know he's done for the season. Michael Wacha says he feels great.
What a play here at third. DeYoung, though, gets down the line, and he's safe.
But with Wacha, I guess there's a giant question mark about health, even though he says he feels great.
Nice play on the backhand. And DeYoung, we've talked about his power and his defense, but he got down the line pretty quickly.
Sure did. We had a chance to spend a lot of time with Dexter Fowler, the new addition.
Boy, he's quite a personality. Always smiling. You know, and Ricky and I have discussed chemistry in the past. I don't think last year's team lacked chemistry, but I think John Mozeliak, and looking at his ball club, thought, all right, maybe there's an element of fun that Dexter Fowler brings along with his on-field prowess, and maybe there's a balance to strike, and I think that was one of the key things that attracted them to Dexter Fowler and made them really go after him, outside of the fact that he's got a great on-base percentage, plays center, and checks a lot of boxes.
So certainly the performance part of what you're talking about, but I think a good team does have a balance of guys that are absolute professionals, and then you have guys that keep things loose. And I don't know that you want too many of either one, frankly. You want to have that balance and call it chemistry, mix, whatever you want to call it. But I think Fowler does maybe fill a void that this team had a year ago.
This is Jordan Schaefer, who's at the plate. Now, he has been an everyday center fielder with a couple of different teams, and an opening day center fielder. There's a couple of spots that you look at with Pham and Jose Martinez, and this man, Jordan Schaefer, to be a potential bat off the bench and outfielder, but Schaefer adds the element of pitching. Now, the Dodgers, he was in their system a year ago. By the end of last season, as a pitcher, he was hitting 91 to 93 on the gun. And he was a former pitcher in high school, great athlete, obviously. And the Cardinals think he can throw even harder once he dedicates a little more time to pitching. But they think this could be an intriguing option in a lot of different roles. He's got speed.
Yes.
He can play very good defensive outfield. And then you mix in the fact that he might be able to pitch in a major league game. That checks a lot of boxes.
Hard to manage a player like that in today's baseball, and I'm sure there's a lot of thought given to that when you use your roster a lot of games, when to use it. Do you hold him off to be that second lefty or third lefty in the pen, or do you use him as a pinch runner in the 8th inning when you need to get that extra base? Because he can flat out fly. That, I think, is his best tool. Or, again, do you use him as a pinch hitter? It'd be hard to figure out how to use him effectively day after day.
He could destroy a lot of scorecards.
He can.
Garcia drops down a bunt, and tremendous play at third again, but both runners advance to second and third. Ricky, you were on teams with Whitey Herzog, where Whitey would, have a little fun with this, where he'd bring a guy in to face one hitter. Then that pitcher would go play right field or left field. You'd see a new pitcher come in, face a batter or two, and then he'd want that matchup again and bring in that pitcher that was in right field or left field to pitch again. You could do that theoretically with Schaefer.
He did that with Whitey Herzog, did it with Todd Worrell and Ken Daly, and you could do that with Schaefer. But, in Schaefer's case, the question is he more of a hitter or more of a pitcher? I'm not sure I know the answer to that yet. Or I don't think the Cardinals know the answer to that yet. Where do they want him to focus? I still think at some point he's going to have to emerge one way or the other and be a plan B in the other direction, but it's hard to be a plan A in both directions.
Don't you think need-wise there's a more of a need for another outfielder? I think the bullpen is set up pretty well.
You've got a couple left-handers down there already you're happy with. It's Segrist and Cecil.
And eventually Tyler Lyons.
And again, maybe injuries or performance or all of that comes into play, and Schaefer's just a guy that you're just going to get him ready for all of it and see where the need is.
This is Chad Huffman at the plate, his first appearance. Takes a spot of Carpenter in the lineup. Matt Carpenter, if you're just joining us, with a sac fly to bring in Dexter Fowler in the first, and then a 2-run homer that also drove in Fowler in the third. Runners at second and third. 4-3 our score. Miami with the lead here in the inning of top of the 5th inning. The 2-0.
Found it interesting that right next to Derek Lilliquist, right there on the field, is Lance Lynn, who's got the full sweatshirt up, even though it's like 90 degrees, and also Mike Leake, and they've watched this very, very closely today.
So a shot there a moment ago of Tommy Pham. He'll be in that conversation for a 4th or 5th outfield spot. That pitch is in the dirt. Pham is out of options. Greg Garcia out of options, and so is Tyler Lyons, who is trying to battle back, dealing with a couple of knee surgeries. There's a look at Tommy Pham, and there's a look at Huffman.
Tommy Pham, if he stays healthy, can obviously play.
It's always been the case.
Yeah.
Can he stay healthy? Here's a 3-1 pitch. Inside, and the bases are loaded for Stephen Piscotty.
That's one of the questions, too. Stephen Piscotty as a cleanup guy, if that's how the Cardinals use him. You know, he's not your prototypical cleanup hitter, but a very good hitter who has an opportunity to flourish there, especially with 3 guys with good on-base percentages ahead of him.
It seems like Piscotty has the ability, and we talk about it a lot, how a player and a pro athlete in various sports can slow the game down. And Stephen, in the cleanup role where the pressure is high, seems to be able to thrive in spots like these.
Yeah, he's very strong mentally, and I really think he can do whatever you ask him to. He could play center field if he worked at it. I think he's a better right fielder, so that's the thing on the defensive side. I think he could run more if you ask him to do that, and I think he can hit cleanup. I'm not sure you have a lot of clear answers for who else that could be in this Cardinals lineup either. Maybe Jerko, Grichuk. What I like about Piscotty in that cleanup spot is I think he's going to make more contact than Grichuk might.
You just get the impression, based on a lot of the home runs that Moss and potentially Holiday aren't bringing this year, they're going to rely on having guys on base and maybe making more contact.
That's driven foul. Cardinals last year were 18th in baseball in average at .255, but they hit 225 home runs, second most in baseball, but they lose 60 of those with not just Holiday and Moss. Holiday at 20, Moss 28, but Hazelbaker, who's now with Arizona, Jeremy had 12 last year. So you lose an awful lot of home runs with that trio. Ground ball hit towards third, and it's botched. Run does score, and that makes it a tie game. It's 4-4.
Well, Anderson's getting a lot of action this inning. Made a nice play on the backhand, nice play on the bunt, but he's not able to come up with this one. Let the ball get in on him a bit. Should be ruled an error. The footwork just not quite in sync with the glove work.
Well, we talked about it earlier, the transition potentially of Yadier Molina and his career to this young man, Carson Kelly. The question with Kelly at this point, is he best served staying in the minor leagues, or do you bring him up as the backup? That's strike one on the foul ball.
What's your guess,
It's a
Rick?
tough question. I mean, it really is a tough question. I think the Cardinals have other opportunities with guys to be the backup. Eric Fryer's been brought back, and he certainly did a great job last year, I thought, as Yadi's second guy. And I think you start Kelly out in AAA if I were the one making the call, and I'm certainly not. But I think you want to get him enough at-bats to where he gets in the groove, and then sometime during the season when you want that extra at-bat and you feel like he's developed even further, then you give him the call.
Tough to argue with that.
And it really becomes a tough situation for John Mozeliak. You have a franchise-type player in Yadier Molina who's not slowing down right now.
Right.
And wants to finish his career in St. Louis. Cardinals do hold an option on Molina's contract for next year. But then you don't want to stunt the growth, though, of a guy that could be your catcher, let's say, for the next decade, if not more, in Carson Kelly. And, you know, he's a fan favorite, Yadier Molina, probably the most popular player in St. Louis. You can make that case. There's a lot of facets outside of what he brings just behind the plate and that, you know, in the batter's box.
Think about it from Carson Kelly's point of view. It's hard to be the guy that replaces the guy. And at some point, that's going to be the role he's going to have to fill.
That's it out of play. We saw Carson Kelly, who was originally, by the way, drafted as a third baseman and then converted to catcher in 2014, make his major league debut a year ago.
Well, you talked to him too, Carson Kelly, and he just looks at it as a great opportunity to watch every single thing that Yadi does. That's the right approach.
2-2. That's driven out to center field. Well hit. And that ball is caught. Runners will tag from second and third. Run scores. Kelly picks up the RBI, and the Cardinals back on top. It's now 5-4 St. Louis.
Been some really good at-bats in this game, including this one. And a nice play on the other end by Barnes in center. Quick center fielder gets it on the warning track, but that's a good at-bat. Drive the ball into the outfield with a runner at third base. We've seen runners moved over. We've seen a good bunt by Garcia. We've seen a lot of good at-bats here.
Still
Jimmy,
hard.
have you had the chance to visit with Big City?
I have. I mean, I've said it before. It's a time-honored spring training cliche to say best shape of his life, but that guy is unrecognizable. And he started eating right and really committed to Pilates, strengthening his core. And as far as where he fits in with this Cardinals team, I really believe it when he says it. Not my decision. I'm going to do my best and have fun the whole way. He is really concentrating on just staying upbeat and waiting for an opportunity wherever that might present itself.
But very good as a pinch hitter, too. Overlooked. He was first in baseball with a .330 batting average in the pinch. Had 3 home runs, drove in 13, so he was a threat off the bench. Kim Wallace was his Pilates instructor. Jake Arrieta is credited Pilates as a huge reason for his turnaround. You may recall Jaden Schwartz of the Blues talking about that. Also Jamal Mayers, former Blue and Blackhawk, did that back in St. Louis. He says, if I have a schedule and you give me a schedule, I stick to it. But if I deviate, then it's kind of, you know, the train's off the tracks.
So you keep the train on the track, you do the work, and I like what Jim said, coming from Matt, that, you know, once you start overthinking where is your place on this team or when in the future of the, you're thinking about the wrong thing. You got to think about performing. And you can overanalyze that stuff to death as a player, and it's not really productive. I wonder, Dan, if he'll be as much of a pull hitter with his hands where they are.
I was thinking that too.
Be interesting to see how teams defend him. They have a bit of a shift on him at the moment. The Marlins do, but just wonder whether he'll use more of the field with his hands lower.
Runners at the corners and a 3-1 pitch. Helmet almost popped off.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dan. I think a lot of people kind of forget about what a good pinch hitter he became last year.
Absolutely.
That's a big weapon to have.
National League, all the double switches, Carpenter's versatility potentially to go over to third base or second. And a strikeout catches the outside corner, so Adams 0 for 3 this afternoon. Cardinals strand 2, they pick up 2, and they also pick up the lead.
You don't look like you're from around here.
Five to 4, the Cardinals have the lead as we move to the bottom of the 5th. Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Second inning of work for Austin Gumber. Big breaking ball, and that's taken low. Glad you're with us wherever you may be. Cardinals baseball is back, and that's a line drive and a base hit into left center field. That will roll all the way to the wall. Anderson, who is the third baseman that we saw in the previous inning with a couple of nice plays defensively, doubles to start the bottom of inning number 5. Well, we talked about it earlier, comparing Adams' stance to Anthony Rizzo and where their hands are. Very similar.
Yeah, you look at some of the comparisons. They're not exactly the same. Rizzo's bat is a little bit more upright and hands back a little further for Adams in the strike zone. But the idea is their hands are low and very different look for Matt Adams, and we'll see how successful that is as the season unfolds. Rizzo certainly one of the game's top hitters at the moment. He really was a big part of that Cubs season a year ago.
The world champion Chicago Cubs.
Having a hard time saying it, but sometimes the truth hurts, Danny boy.
Yep. Brandon Barnes now at the plate, center fielder. Out in front, pops it back foul, 0-2. Remember, the opening day is actually an opening night in St. Louis. That is a Sunday night game. And even though we will not have that telecast, we will have Blues hockey that afternoon, which will lead into our pregame coverage of the opening ceremony in St. Louis, Clydesdales and whatnot. So even though we don't have the game, we will do a pregame so that fans at home can take in what is one of the great traditions in all of sports, and that's opening day in St. Louis.
Right around the corner. Always special, always electric. I want to say, Dan, I've said to many of my Cub fans, and I have a few of them this offseason, have said to them very sincerely, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, and I mean this, and I really do mean it. I hope that you get to experience another world championship 100 years from now.
It's Jacob Wilson who makes the play at third. Excuse me, Patrick Wisdom is at third base. Runner stays put at second. Moises Sierra, the right fielder, checks in for the first time. Runner at second. And the first pitch by Gomber is a strike.
I like the way the ball comes out of the hand of Gomber. He has a little bit of deception. He's right over the top, and the hand comes through kind of at the last minute. I think part of it is his height. But the curveball, the 12-6 curveball that he throws, and you say he has a bit of a slurve too, but there are times where he gets right on top of it, and he just explodes at the plate, doesn't he?
Yes. They feel he is a legitimate prospect.
Yeah.
And we're going to see him at some point in the major leagues. Cardinals do have a right-hander starting to throw in their pen. Marlins as well. There's the breaking ball and a base hit out to left field. The Cardinal fan, StubHub is your ticket to a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That's Cardinals baseball. Cardinal games to amazing concerts to shows you just don't want to miss. StubHub connects with the world we live in. StubHub, your ticket out. StubHub is the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think you'd have to say that the Cubs are the favorite to win again in the Central Division. Agreed?
I think that's fair. And where you go from there in the National League Central is a bit of a mystery. There are many that believe that the Pirates are going south and looking to sell off many of their players if things don't get off to a good start for them, and maybe even in spring training.
Andrew McCutchen has been moved to right field. Mainstay for years in center.
I think the Brewers are a bit of a mystery as to whether or not they'll be better. They've got some young arms, but they have a lot of holes.
Cincinnati, and clearly a rebuild right now.
Absolutely.
Brandon Phillips has been traded to the Atlanta Braves. He did have the option of turning down a trade, but he did accept that one after turning down a couple last offseason.
So if you have 3 teams in your division rebuilding, there's a chance for you to pick up a lot of victories inside your division and be in that race for the wild card or the division championship. And I think you'd have to look at the Cardinals and Cubs as favorites to be one or the other.
The Cardinals pitching went from a major league best 2.99 ERA in 2015 to 13th. It's about a 4.5 ERA. And you know, you think about the defense, if it was shored up a little bit behind them, the Cardinals make it to postseason play. Especially with a ground ball staff. Martinez, Wainwright, Leake.
Leake especially, to me. Leake is a guy that needs to have a good defense behind him. He could be a winner if you've got guys that can catch the ball, because that's what he's trying to do.
Popped up on 2-0. Wisdom calling for it, and he has it. Big out for Gomber. Well, Jimmy mentioned it earlier. Lance Lynn returns to this rotation, a free agent to be. That's Mike Leake on the left. And for Lance Lynn, I was talking to him the other day. You know, he feels great coming back from Tommy John. He said, you know, people need to remember I've had a full amount of time to recover from Tommy John because of when it happened. It wasn't like I'm at 12 months. He said, I'm removed from all that.
So the Cardinals don't have Jaime Garcia, Matt Holliday, Brandon Moss, Seth Maness, but they get the new free agents, Fowler and Cecil. But Lynn is like getting another player back because you missed him all season. And not just another player, but a guy that's a number 2 or 3 starter.
A.J. Ellis at the plate. 2 outs, 2 on. Fastball.
I was going to say earlier, Dan, when Jim Hayes said that he had Alex Reyes penciled in his mind as a number 5 starter, despite the Cardinals slow playing him, I had him pinned in as number 2. That's how important I think he could have been to this team, and I think that's a tough thing to overcome. Not that you can't, but honestly, that was a tough loss for the Cardinals. Reyes being out.
Absolutely. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It'd have been interesting to see how the Cardinals would have started the year, though, with him and trying to manage innings. And, you know, you wanted to bank some innings for the potential of postseason. And the breaking ball is a base hit into right field, and this game is tied at 5. Anderson scores, and we're knotted up 5 apiece.
Well, if we get to extra innings, are we going to start with a runner at second base and do the speed-up rules that MLB is talking about? Please no, Dan.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that idea.
Players aren't either.
You know, and that needs to be mentioned. I think a lot of people out there think, well, the commissioner says this is what he wants, this is what's going to happen. All that has to be bargained with the Players Association. And the players have been more of the traditionalist,
right,
if you will, than those that are trying to make some of the moves in the game. I think from Rob Manfred's point of view, he's got broadcast partners that he needs to appease, and shortening the game to make sure that those broadcast partners are happy is probably first and foremost on his list. And I understand that. But to guys like you and I who just enjoy the game of baseball no matter how long it takes, and many others, they could care less. Runners at first and second, 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs. We're in inning number 5. We're back at it again tomorrow. These two same teams. And we'll come your way at noon St. Louis time. Just head to the Fox Sports Midwest website to see all the games that we'll be televising down here in Florida. And this is the first of 15 that we will have for you. Now Kelly out to visit with Gomber, and for the second year in a row, if you want to listen or watch every single game of Cardinals baseball, you will have that opportunity. Even if the games are not being shown on television or broadcast on the radio network, there are games that are streamed on the internet. So every game, if you want to listen or watch, you got it. The ball scoots away from Kelly, and a wild pitch charged to Gomber. New changes for the Marlins, and one of those is their third base coach, the former manager with the Atlanta Braves, and that's Freddie Gonzalez. There's a look at Freddie. A swing and a miss. Juan Nieves is the pitching coach of the Marlins. Perry Hill at first base. Gonzalez at third. Tim Wallach, outstanding players, a bench coach for Don Mattingly.
You mentioned Perry Hill, the first base coach. He's the Jose Oquendo of the Marlins organization. Really a defensive coach and specialist, and really nice to see Jose back in action again. He had the knee issues of a year ago, had a lot of work done on a knee that was really bothering him. Couldn't really walk up and down stairs. That's how bad it was. So he's back working again as a special assistant for John Mozeliak, and Ollie Marmol, the first base coach, is one of those proteges of his.
Base hit into right, and 2 runs will score. And the Marlins regain the lead. It's Matt Dendecker, the former Met, who's now with Miami.
I think Gomber would be really tough on lefties, but he leaves that one up out over the plate. And Dendecker right on it, laces it to right.
JT Riddle is the shortstop for Miami. First time at the plate. 7-5 Miami. Curveball drops in for a strike. Cardinals have added what they call a quality control coach, and that's Mike Schilt. He's been a manager in the Cardinals farm system since 2009. protege of one George Kissel.
Well respected.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the coach at the minor league level that compiled the Cardinal Way, which has become famous and infamous in some ways, and people don't like to think about it as if the Cardinals are the only ones that teach fundamentals, but it was really a compilation of George Kissel teachings.
Out to center. Diving catch. Jordan Schaefer. He'll get your attention. Nice play in center by Schaefer. Former everyday center fielder with the Atlanta Braves. Trying to earn a spot in this camp. That'll help his cause.
At Menards.
Back at Roger Dean Stadium, baseball back for 2017. 7-5, the Marlins with the lead. A Chevy call to the pen takes us to right-hander Jake Esch. He attended Georgia Tech. Pitcher his freshman year, then he played second base his sophomore year in college. And then the Marlins selected him in the 11th round of the 2011 draft as a pitcher. So he's trying to make this club in their bullpen.
Double-A starter a year ago. He got up to the big leagues a bit last season. All about development here. Spring training really highlights that, Dan. Gary LaRocque and his staff in the Cardinal minor league system do such a great job of developing the young players and finding the right place to move them to the next highest level. When are they ready for it? Are they doing the things they need to do? And you hope that they take advantage of those opportunities once the spring games come around.
Here's Patrick Wisdom. And the first pitch is taken for a ball. I believe for the Cardinals that is John Gant, who is up and throwing. He's a right-hander that the Cardinals picked up in the Jaime Garcia deal. And a very unique motion towards the plate. And if he comes in the game, we'll explain why. And you'll see it. They're waiting for the souvenir, and it finally fell.
Well, the fans are going to have to get used to it because there have been some changes here at Roger Dean Stadium. They actually have an overhang now to give some more shade for the fans. So anybody who's been to spring training knows how hot it can be, but now there's some coverings at top. This one actually behind home plate and now a souvenir. But they have built some pavilions and some shading down both the left field line and the right field line here.
Here's a 1-2. And a fly ball lifted into center. First down here in the top of the 6th.
Let's go over here, guys.
This is Harrison Bader. A lot of talk about Bader coming into this camp. One of the highly thought of prospects for the St. Louis Cardinals. First pitch is taken for a ball outside.
We can just flat out hit. Primarily a center fielder.
Baseball America has him rated as the 7th best prospect in the Cardinals system. And a high fly ball lifted out to deep left. It will carry out of here. And a solo home run for Harrison Bader. He had 16 a year ago at Springfield, added 3 more at Memphis, and his first of spring training 2017.
Bader takes advantage of an opportunity. Gets a hanger. Gives it a ride. Able to keep his weight back long enough. Played here in the state of Florida at the University of Florida.
3-year starter for the Gators.
And just 22.
Well, the Cardinals really pushed him, Rick, last year. He made it all the way to Double-A. Then Memphis. And this is a guy that was drafted in 2015. So that's big progress in a short amount of time. At one point, he had a 17-game hitting streak, which was 1 shy of the affiliate record at Springfield. And Bader did take part in the Arizona Fall League. Here's a 1-2.
This is Wilfredo Tovar, who has played the past couple of innings at shortstop. He's from Venezuela. And Tovar, longtime minor league player. A little bit of time at the big league level with the Mets.
Rips it into center field. Barnes going back. There's a beat on it and makes the catch. We get another look at Jordan Schaefer. Schaefer with a really nice play in center field.
Really good defensive play for a pitcher.
That's all I'm going to hear this summer.
And I might remind you that they're athletes, Dan.
Yes, they are. Without question.
Didn't think I'd come back to that, did you?
I knew you would.
I don't forget.
There's a strike to Schaefer.
And for those who may have missed that, you made a comment early in the broadcast that player for the Marlins was a baseball player, but not only was he a baseball player, he's also an athlete.
It was just for you.
I was mildly offended. And tried to pin you on it, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Schaefer made it to the big leagues all the way back in 2009 when he was with Atlanta. Also played with Houston and Minnesota. Last year was in the Dodgers system. 107th overall pick in 2005. So he's been in pro baseball for a long time. Breaks his bat and a ground ball that's hit to second. Our first look this spring at Harrison Bader. Makes a nice early impression with this home run. 7-6 midway through 6.
This is the Silverado
Garcia deal. Very unique delivery. Steps forward, stops, starts again. And they believe that Gant can fight for a spot potentially in the Cardinals bullpen. Big guy, he throws downhill, 6'5" frame, gets a lot of ground balls. Low 90s fastball. He has what they call the Vulcan changeup, and that is his best pitch, and that's why he gets a lot of those ground balls. Hitters out in front. I was looking at the rule book the other day, and it says, quote, a natural movement associated with his delivery of the ball to the batter without interruption or alteration. That's supposed to be part of this delivery. So I asked an umpire about that. What's your interpretation? He said it's very simple. If this is his natural delivery, as long as it's consistent, he can do this. A lot of teams had questioned this while in the minor leagues as to whether or not it was fair if he could be doing this. And he gets that first ground ball and out here in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, naturally, you can't do it out of the stretch. He has a much more normal delivery to the plate there, and really wouldn't be a balk anyway, because if you're starting out of the windup and you can stop and it's not a balk, it's really your prerogative. But I guess the idea of it being natural, I find that an interesting choice of words, that it's his natural delivery, as if he came out of the womb thinking, you know what, I'm just going to hesitate in my delivery. I mean, he had to be learned at some point, wasn't it?
Remember Jordan Walton?
Yeah.
You know, he had the funky delivery, and I asked him, I said, well, did something you worked on? He said, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And Gant said the same thing. He didn't even realize it. Ground ball that's pulled foul.
Both in the Braves organization at one point.
And Gant was originally drafted by the Mets, made his debut with the Braves last season. He's 24 years old. He went 1-4. Comes to St. Louis in the Jaime Garcia deal. Gant, Chris Ellis, and Luke Dykstra also part of that trade with the Atlanta Braves. And the second time that he's been traded, he was dealt in the deadline of 2015. The Mets were going for it. They acquired Juan Uribe and Kelly Johnson. He's averaged nearly 9 strikeouts per 9, used both as a starter and reliever with the Braves. 2 quick outs. And there's a strike.
So last year at this time, Dan, if you and I would be talking about the Cardinals bullpen and somebody would say, what do you think of Matt Bowman? You and I might say, well, we've heard of him. We know he's a Rule 5 guy, but he became something much more than that. Be interesting to see who emerges that way this spring out of the Cardinals bullpen.
Brought to you in part by your local St. Louis Hyundai dealers. Better drive us. By Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri. So play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. (7-6) Miami. Top of the 7th.
This is Breivik Valera.
Leading off, the new pitcher for Miami.
Scott Copeland, non-roster invitee, and both teams have plenty of those. The Cardinals, 68 players in camp. A lot of people to keep track of, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And to find playing time for.
He spent parts of 4 seasons at Double-A Springfield, and he grounds out to second. Moved around the infield. But over 2,500 minor league at-bats for Valera.
The first baseman, number 65, Chad Huffman.
There's Chad Huffman. Mike Matheny entering his 6th year as the manager of the Cardinals.
Goes by fast, doesn't it?
Boy, 6th year.
Wow. He's the only
taken in the dirt.
Only manager to lead his team to the playoffs the first 4 seasons as a big league manager, and he was, you mentioned it earlier, 1 game away from doing it 5 straight seasons.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Taken inside. We've talked about it, but Ali Marmol is the new first base coach from Mike Matheny. He was a 23-year-old infielder for Palm Beach when he was released by the Cardinals. Former 6th-round pick in 2007 out of the College of Charleston. Never hit better than .221, but the club always felt he was going to be a coach in their system and gave him the opportunity, and here he is in the big leagues. MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices, plus enjoy almost 300 spring training games and the World Baseball Classic. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. I was watching the Yankees play yesterday.
Were you?
MLB.TV.
February baseball.
February baseball on your TV. That's hard to believe, too.
Yes.
I was trying to think when the earliest time was that the Cardinals had reported to camp, and this has got to be, if not the earliest, one of the earliest times in their history. You know, players got down here around February 13th, 14th. Many of them were here anyway.
Well, yeah, and they do come here anyway, and that's not a new thing. A lot of players would come down for the month of February anyway, at least. They'd get down here early to get used to the climate and get used to throwing and working out in Florida, wherever they may be from. But I think baseball is moving towards starting spring training and the games a little earlier, long term, so that the season can start earlier, so that they can have more off days during the season. That's one of the movements that's going on in baseball, long term.
Next year, by the way, the games will start 4 days earlier. So what that does, it allows for 4 additional days off. And now Todd Cunningham is hit by the pitch. Baseball also looking at some special event games. As a matter of fact, in 2019, they're looking at playing some games in London, which is obviously unique to the game of baseball. But next year, because of the collective bargaining agreement, one of the things that they're trying to do is to make sure that travel is as easy as it possibly can be for players, you know, and also to generate more off days in the season. Players, if it's easier travel, maybe the injuries go down.
Right.
That's something that is beneficial for both sides.
Right.
Keeping players on the field.
I think everybody wants that end. I think we also want, of course, the travel to be good for broadcasters. I think that's
absolutely
key. But really, the owners understand how much they've invested in these players, and the players understand how short their career is. I was happy to see that the negotiations were so simple, not simple, but they weren't very argumentative. There wasn't a lot of back and forth between the owners and the players, and it was pretty benign this time. I liked it.
You were part of some of those negotiations when you played.
Yeah, some of them weren't quite so friendly.
Easy and
No,
nice. Well, I think the one thing you have to remember is that both sides realize everybody is making a ton of money. So while we can tweak it, let's make sure we stay on the field.
Probably should have realized that a little sooner.
Right. There's a base hit for Carson Kelly into right field. And the bases will be loaded for St. Louis.
Kelly going the other way. Really a power hitter. For those wondering a little bit more about Carson Kelly, you mentioned him being a top prospect, but that has as much to do with his defense as anything else. He was a Gold Glove winner in the minor leagues. Even though he was not signed as a catcher, you also mentioned that. But he had a couple of rough years with the bat first couple of seasons.
Sure did. This is Anthony Garcia. We saw him a bunch last spring. 25-year-old that was selected in the 18th round in 2009. Split last year between Springfield and Memphis. 37 games at Springfield and 70 at Memphis. Breaking ball taken low. 2 balls and no strikes. We touched upon it briefly, Rick, but the loss of Jose Fernandez, you know, to that organization, he was the drawing card for so many. Out at third, and throw is wide at first base. Run does score, and we're tied at 7. But I was talking to Eduardo Perez not too long ago, and he said, I'm just not so sure that this team is fully recovered, you know, even during the offseason of getting away from each other and whatnot, but the loss of Fernandez. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It's a devastating loss to the game of baseball.
There's the personal side, the emotional side, the friend. That's all part of it, teammate. When you think about what it does to the organization developmentally, too, if you go into the Cardinals offices, the front offices here in Jupiter, you'll find a board that has the projected team for this year and where people think they'll be, but they also have long-term plans. They've got a board. I've seen the board before. Not sure they would show that to anybody right now, which would say, where are we going to be in 3 years? Who do we think is going to be our outfielders? And a loss like that is tragic and terrible, but it also changes kind of the whole flow of your organization developmentally.
Financially, you probably had money set aside to make sure that you retained him. You know, ticket sales, by the way, when he would pitch, were about 5,000 more tickets sold. Ballpark is in Little Havana. So, you know, you're talking about a lot of the folks that have come from Cuba. He was their guy. And personable, smiling. It's a terrible loss. And then you think about what he meant when he was on the mound, Rick. They were 10 games under 500 in the games that he did not start. So you have that aspect, too.
Didn't he lose just once at home? Something
to the Cardinals. That was it. Yeah. Patrick Wisdom at the plate. Takes a pitch high. He evens it up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Marlins finished 79 and 82. And currently in the midst of the second longest postseason drought in baseball. 13 years. Mariners #1 at 15 years. As Wisdom pops it foul. And last year, it really seemed like they were going to get in. Remember, they were at the top of the wild card standings, and they made the trades to bring in a starter and a reliever in Rodney. But it did not pan out with those trades, and then they had some injuries down the stretch. Most notable was Justin Bour and Giancarlo Stanton, and the rest is history. The 2-2 again. Now time is called. Marlins, by the way, will have a 2.5-mile stretch of 17th Avenue that begins at US 1. It runs north, if you're familiar with that, to River Drive, and that will pass Marlins Park. That'll be known as Jose Fernandez Avenue. Also talk of a memorial at the ballpark, too. Wisdom strikes out. Ball scoots away. And they get that third and final out. Time to stretch. 7-7.
You don't look like you.
Crosses, and we're tied at 7. Well, this year the Cardinals are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the 1967 World Series championship team and the 30th anniversary of the '87 NL championship. Great replica ring promotions. Get your tickets now through the 5-game ring pack or as a single game ticket, on sale now at Cardinals.com. Hard for you to believe, 30 years, that 1987 team, Rick Horton?
No, that's a lot of years, Dan, and great team it was. Of course, the '67 team, world champions, 50 years for those guys. Great to be with them during the offseason at a couple of events. And it'll be fun to celebrate along with them all season long.
Roboski is back, Tim McCarver, Rick Horton, Jim Hayes, Jimmy Edmonds. The gang is all back. Should be kind of fun, too, in spring training this year. Ricky Ankiel, I believe, is going to do a game. And Brad Thompson. That pitch taken low. 7-7 our score. This is Sierra at the plate. Gant, his second inning of work. It's been 4 up and 4 down. Line drive that's caught in right.
Gant looks good. 5 up, 5 down, making it look easy. It's not. One thing you look for, Dan, when you start to build a bullpen is you look for guys that have something different. You don't want 3 or 4 guys that throw the same.
That's well hit into center field. At the track, it's at the wall, and it's gone. Long home run.
And that's not one of the differences you're looking for.
Marlins last year hit 128 home runs, second fewest in the National League to the Atlanta Braves. Well, as Rick told you earlier, you're just not going to see a lot of home runs in this ballpark.
Telling you, the ball's juiced, Danny.
It is jumping today. It's a very warm day. And as we talked about, it's one of the hottest days we've had in camp so far. Many times that flag, Old Glory, is coming towards us. We're behind home plate. It blows in.
We've seen right field especially a difficult place to play here at this ballpark.
I've talked to Giancarlo Stanton about that. He said it's the most difficult ballpark defensively to play in. A lot of left-handed batters say that they struggle with the backdrop against a lefty. The backdrop is not situated perfectly here at this ballpark, and they struggle picking up the ball. 3-1 pitch, and a ground ball hit to second. Marlins pick up another home run. We head to inning number 8. Miami back on top. It's 8-7. Severino Gonzalez takes over for the Marlins here in inning number 8. 8-7. Marlins with the lead, the first of 15 televised spring training games on Fox Sports Midwest. This is Harrison Bader. Nice start for Bader to spring training, huh? Home run 2 innings ago.
Like to make that quick impression.
Ground ball, taken at third, 1 away. That's something they talk about with Bader. Remember, it was early in the previous at bat. He went after it.
Yeah.
They say he's very aggressive early in counts. If he sees something, he's going after it. So 1 for 2 on the afternoon. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the top of the 8th.
Cardinals facing their 8th Marlin pitcher in 8 innings. This is Severino Gonzalez. Not sure I've ever seen 9 pitchers in a 9-inning game, have you?
No.
Is this a new trend? And go to 18-man staffs and have them all pitch an inning?
I was told the average for a major league team to make it through a season, as Tovar hits a base hit into left, is roughly 25 to 26 pitchers to get through a year. Now think about that. I mean, so what it tells you, you better have depth. You better have guys like Gant and Gomber and other players that are ready to step up when the call comes to be able to participate effectively at the major league level.
Had a chance to talk to a lot of those guys from the '67 World Champions. I believe they used 16 pitchers
Total,
and 2 of them threw less than 5 innings. Wow. And Bob Gibson was hurt for 5 or 6 weeks.
miraculous that he came back.
So much to celebrate about that season. Orlando Cepeda, of course, Mike Shannon, part of that team. Roger Maris.
Dick Hughes. 16-game winner, I believe.
Led the team in wins. Nelson Briles.
This is Magneuris Sierra. He was part of that international signing class with Alex Reyes and Edmundo Sosa, and really asserted himself in his debut season. He was a teenager and won the Cardinals Player of the Year in the organization.
Don't let his size fool you. Very strong. The thought about Sierra is he may look slight, but incredibly quick hands and powerful. The forearms are huge. You shake hands with him, you realize he's got a vice grip.
Listed at 5'11", 160. He is a superior defender too, and his first year was 2014 in the Gulf Coast League. Won a batting title, hit .386. One ball and two strikes. Runner goes. Sierra fouls it back. In 2015, he was in Peoria and Johnson City. Last year, low A Peoria, hit .307. It's another 1-2 pitch to Sierra. Cardinals are pleased to offer fan-friendly values throughout this upcoming season. Look for ways to save some cash or find a great value at the ballpark. Make sure to check out the Fan Value Corner at cardinals.com/values. And the 1-2. Sierra swing and a miss. There's two outs.
Second baseman number 73, Clayton Valera.
So brings in Valera. .73 games last year at Memphis. He hit .341. 0 for 1 today. They talk about him not being very flashy, but they say, a quote that I got from somebody in the Cardinals front office, he is a baseball player. Not flashy, but gets the job done. Runner goes, good jump, throw down to second. Not in time.
You know, that's one of the best compliments a player can get, when somebody just calls him very simply a player. That's internal code for you do things right. Cardinals pick up another stolen base. Close play at the bag. Dexter Fowler stole a base in the first inning, so the Cardinals running. at least in February.
Remember last spring, that was the focus for the Cardinals, is that at least one of the things they were looking at was we were going to steal more. We want to be more aggressive on the bases. Well, the Cardinals in regular season play had 35 steals last year, last in the National League and the fewest since 1953.
I think there was another issue with the team a year ago. The idea was to hit and run more, but too many guys were strikeout home run guys, and you had very few players you could hit and run with. Certainly weren't going to do it with Brandon Moss. Grichuk would be another one you'd never hit and run with. And so you have Molina as the classic guy that you would send a runner and have him try to put the ball in play, but it just was not a team built for that.
Cardinals stole 28 in spring training last year. And a total of 35 for the season. Here's a 1-2. Popped up on the outfield grass. Cardinals strand a runner. They trail 8-7 as we move to the bottom of the 8th. Baseball is back on Fox Sports Midwest. Team promotional schedule features 8 bobblehead giveaway dates, including a unique Carlos Martinez and Matt Carpenter double bobblehead, 2 final out bobbleheads, and more. Get your tickets through one of the 5 or 10 game promotional packs or as a single game ticket, on sale now at Cardinals.com. About that, they got a bobblehead now where Carlos Martinez is throwing water into Matt Carpenter's face.
Perfect.
This is Zach Phillips out of Sacramento, California. 30-year-old, signed as a minor league free agent. Cardinals become his 6th major league organization. He's been with the Rangers, the Orioles, Marlins, White Sox, and Pirates. Also spent 1 year in Japan. That was in 2014.
He gave up a home run in September a year ago on the 30th of September. Final home run as a member of the Cardinals at Busch Stadium for Matt Holliday.
For me, it's one of the greatest sporting moments I've ever seen.
That was
awesome.
It was really good. I'm not sure it was for Zach Phillips.
No.
It's all about perspective.
Yes, sir. We will see Matt Holliday in the first month of the regular season. Cardinals will be at Yankee Stadium. And he's wearing pinstripes. So he is going to finish up his career having played with, or for, 2 of the most iconic franchises, not just in baseball, but in sports, the Cardinals and the Yankees. I'll be honest, I miss him.
Yeah, I agree.
Wish him well. True pro. Here's a 1-2. And a swing and a miss.
The shortstop, number 78, JT Riddle.
Here's JT Riddle to face this lefty. So the Cardinals are going to spend over 6 weeks in terms of spring training and exhibition games. There's a ground ball hit to the right side. Cardinals will play at both affiliates, Springfield and Memphis, to end up the spring training portion of these exhibition games, and then open up Sunday Night Baseball against the Cubs. And once again, we will have that pregame ceremony for you on Fox Sports Midwest.
And plenty of spring training programming as well. 15 games, many weekend games on Fox Sports Midwest. In fact, tomorrow Mike Myers will be making the start. Mike Matheny has announced him as the starter in our game that we're telecasting tomorrow. And then on Monday, the Cardinals have a split squad game already early in spring training, which is really odd. In fact, Mike Matheny, talking about that today, said that's going to put him in a bit of a bind for having enough pitchers to throw 18 innings on day 3. That is a bit of an issue. So the Cardinals have brought in a few extra pitchers in the last couple of days just to make sure they have those arms available. But 2 very important pitchers pitching on Monday, Lance Lynn and Michael Wacha.
Who are you most excited about watching this spring?
Lance Lynn?
Yeah. He'd be on my list.
Yeah.
I think the most intriguing guy for me, and I've seen him already make an impact in this game, Jordan Schaefer. Just to, you know, you just don't see that every day. A guy playing center field, making a diving catch, and then all of a sudden, a couple innings later, he might be on the mound in a major league game. That's impressive.
Interested in watching Matt Adams. That's another name that's on my list.
Dexter Fowler, an obvious choice. New uniform, new place for him. 2-2. Ground ball to third. Wisdom up with it, and a 1-2-3. We head to the ninth. 8-7 Miami. Get ready for the 2000. Cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. And buy Steak and Shake. 24 meals under $4. New pitcher for Miami, Brandon Cunniff. He pitched with the Atlanta Braves a few seasons ago, made his major league debut, and trying to make the Miami Marlins roster as they begin their season in early April. Overall record in the big leagues, 4-2. And Chad Huffman will be the leadoff man.
First of many games, Dan, for Cardinal fans to enjoy your play-by-play. How many years now for you?
This is number 20.
Number 20. Congratulations for that. Looking forward to hearing you and working with you all season long.
We have a lot of fun, don't we?
We do.
I was trying to think earlier for you, how many spring trainings now? Player, broadcaster?
You make me do some math here.
I missed close to 30, right?
I missed a couple in the late 1990s, but
that's what you call your dark period.
My dark period. Now, the players would say that when you go over to the media, then you're on the dark side, really. But my dark period when I was kind of disconnected from the game, but 1980 till now with that 38 minus 3 or 4, I guess 35 years of spring training.
Yeah. From St. Pete now to Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter. You know, a big development down here is the fact that they have developed a ballpark that can house a couple of teams outside of St. Louis and Miami. I mean, the teams are starting to head to Arizona. The Cardinals never really flirted with that idea all that much. They know the tradition down here in Florida, and,
right?
You know, getting ready for spring, and then ultimately spring training, then heading north. But now that you have Washington around this area, Houston, talk of Toronto,
the Nats and the Astros sharing a place in West Palm, and you see how that is going to help the Cardinals in terms of having more teams to play, and it won't be the Marlins all the time. They do have 7 games against the Marlins this year, but it's easier to travel close by here and to play other teams. It doesn't get as monotonous for them.
It's 36 degrees this morning in Arizona, by the way. A little chilly.
Not here.
No, sir. Beautiful weather. Here's a 1-2. Mike Matheny gave the team the day off yesterday. Traditionally, he has done that before the games start. Give his club an off day. It was rainy the day before,
and they had that crazy escape room field trip that all the players went on. I say crazy, but fun, actually.
Bonding, team bonding.
Team bonding experience that the players are raving about as being really a terrific thought, something out of the box.
I think myself, you, Hungo, the cat need to get together for a little bonding. I see you guys enough.
Now you have to solve puzzles together to get out. Otherwise, you have to stay in the room.
We'd be stuck,
or you're done.
We wouldn't have a chance.
I don't know if we would escape, but we would laugh a lot.
Oh, we have a lot of fun.
Oh man, why wouldn't we?
Yep. And a strikeout to start the ninth. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Glad you're with us. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. The first of 15 is spring training telecast on Fox Sports Midwest. I think for our fans back at home, it's just great to see sunshine, nice weather. I understand it's cool back home, if not cold. But back to what is a fabric of our community, which is Cardinals baseball. Here's a 1-0 pitch. This is Todd Cunningham at the plate. Every year, and you've talked about it before, it's like a book. You know, this is the first chapter of many throughout the season, and the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the great stories that come out of a season like Aledmys Diaz a year ago.
And that's why I always encourage people to watch and pay attention as much as you can to the spring training games, and covering 15 of them is certainly going to give you an opportunity to do that. But it's part of the character development when you write a novel. If you just pick up a book and start in chapter 4, you might not know what characters you're rooting for. This is part of it.
Love seeing the young players.
Definitely.
You know, we've heard about these players. We hear about the draft and different players that are moving along in the system, and then you get a chance to see them in big league games. For instance, Carson Kelly right now digging in. You know, we saw him in spring training a little bit last year. Not a lot, but a little bit. And all of a sudden, he's making a debut in Pittsburgh and knocking a double off of Antonio Bastardo for his first major league hit. As you can look at Tommy Pham, who's at the on-deck circle.
It was a nice moment, too, wasn't it?
Sure was. Luke Weaver making his major league debut, and his parents in the stands at Wrigley Field. Weaver made our start today. Wasn't overly sharp, but I'm not so sure the strike zone was very beneficial to the pitchers today. It started out very tight.
Sure did.
One ball and one strike. Cardinals down by a run. One and two. Interleague play this year, the American League East.
Trip to Boston, right?
Yeah.
Baltimore.
To be our first time seeing the new Yankee Stadium, which opened up in 2009. Taken low. Count runs full. Taken low, and so the tying run is on, and Tommy Pham, our first look at the Cardinals outfielder. When Jim was in the booth with us, we talked about Pham trying to make this club as Alvarez will pinch run. And it really comes down to Tommy Pham staying healthy. He's now 28 years of age. Hit .226 last year in 78 games. Began the season on the opening day roster, then injured his left oblique after one at bat, you may recall, against the Pirates.
Right. The year before, he got hurt running down the left field line here in a spring training game. Last week of spring training, I believe.
And was having, you could make the case at that time.
Spring.
Yeah, the best spring of anybody. Tommy started all three outfield positions last year, 25 in center field. That was his most starts in terms of where he was positioned.
When he's locked in, he's a dangerous at bat. He had a stretch, Dan, last year, and I won't get this exact, but maybe about 8 at-bats where he had 3 home runs, 3 doubles, a triple, and a couple flyouts to the warning track. It was unbelievable.
Against Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, exactly.
Come on, Tommy. On the gap. And stop.
Pitch taken just outside. Alvarez, your runner at first base. He's a 22-year-old outfielder. That's it out of play.
Might have had a pitch to hit right there. A little bit late. You know, it is spring training, Dan. Players aren't thinking, oh boy, tension for the moment. But, you know, you get in a game, you want to win it. Pham's got something to prove. Pinch runner Alvarez does as well.
Alvarez last year, 36 steals at Peoria. Missed in.
I believe the zone's gotten smaller again.
back in safely. Alvarez was added to the Cardinals 40-man roster in 2016. And then rated as the Cardinals' 10th best prospect by Baseball America. Here's a 2-1 pitch to Tommy Pham. 2-2. So again, the Cardinals down to their final strike.
Umpires, of course, rotate. That's, I believe, Vanover behind the plate now. Umpires will rotate throughout the game. Kind of a typical thing for them to do. All 4 of them are here now.
See Brandon Cuniff muttering to himself. You don't think it's important for him? He's trying to make an impression too.
Of course.
3-2. And a swing and a miss, and he strikes out Tommy Pham. And the game comes to a close. The first of 15 in the books for this spring training on Fox Sports Midwest. We'll be back to wrap things up in just a moment. Our final, the Marlins 8, the Cardinals 7. Back with more in just a moment.